Yes. Yes. You can go and grab it. All right, guys. So before we get started, questions on the homework? Need to get started on it? So if you do have questions, we can go over them. We can answer them. But what we're looking at today is more factoring. It's very similar to what we did yesterday, but just a little different in certain ways. We do have some more common factors. Now, we look at the first one here. We're looking at 7x squared minus 31x minus 20. Now, the first thing we're going to want to look for, the first thing we're going to try to find is see if there is a greatest common factor, if there's something in common with all three terms. So we have x squared x. We don't have a variable in all three, so the variable is not in common. Then we're looking to see if a number will go into 7, 31, and 20. Well, the only factors of 7 are 7 and 1. 31 and 20 are not divisible by 7. 31 divided by 7 does not work. So that tells us there is no greatest common factor for these three terms here for this quadratic. Since there is no greatest common factor, we move on to our second step, our two sets of parentheses with three spaces. Then we want to find the sign. Here, the third term is negative. The third term sign is negative. If the third term is negative, our signs are opposite. One is going to be positive, one is going to be negative. Once we finish finding the sign, we'll move on to our fourth step, the factors of the first and third term. So we look at the factors of the first term, 7x squared. One of the nice things with products is we can look at the factors of 7 and x squared independently. We don't have to look at them together. Now, the factors of x squared only has one set of factors. It would be x and x. Factors of 7 are 1 and 7. Are there any others? No. Since there's only one set of factors, we can just throw 1 and 7 in. And that gets us our first set of factors. Now, factors of 20. We have 1 and 20. 2 and 10. 4 and 5. And that's it. Which one do we want to try first? 2 and 10. At this point here, we just need to pick one of the sets of factors, plug it in, and try it. And at this point here, we're going to check. So 7x times negative 10, 7 times negative 10 would be negative 70x. 2 times x, positive 2 times positive x would be positive 2x. So negative 70x plus 2x, negative 70 plus 2 would be negative 68x. So that's not the middle term that we wanted. So the first thing we can do is switch the 10 and 2. And we can try this again. 7x times negative 2, 7 times negative 2 would be negative 14x. Positive 10 times positive x would be plus 10x. And negative 14x plus 10x, negative 14 plus 10, would give us negative 4x. Is that the middle term we wanted? No. So what can we switch to? So let's try 1 and 20. 7x times negative 20, 7 times negative 20 would be negative 140x. 1 times x, positive 1 times positive x would be positive 1x. Negative 140 plus x, negative 140 plus 1 would give us negative 139x. So we can switch to 1 and 20. And we can try this again. 7x times negative 1. 7 times negative 1 would be negative 7x. Positive 20 times x would be 20x. Negative 7x plus 20x. Negative 7 plus 20 would give us negative 13x. That's not the middle term that we wanted. 4 and 5. Seven times negative 5, 7x times negative 5 would give us negative 35x. 4 times x would give us positive 4x. Negative 35x plus 4x, negative 35 plus 4 would be negative 31x. Which is the middle term we wanted, telling us that 7x plus 4 times x minus 5 are the correct factors. Questions on this one here? We ready for the next one? 2b squared plus 17b plus 21. First thing we need to look for, is there a greatest common factor between these three terms? No. So we move on to step 2, which is our 2 sets of parentheses with 3 spaces. If the third term is positive, the signs are the same and match the sign of the middle term. If the third term is negative, our signs are opposite. Here, the third term is positive, so the signs are the same and match the sign of the middle term. Telling us we're going to have plus and plus. Now, our factors of our first term, factors of 2b squared. Well, the factors of b squared are b and b. What are our factors of 2? 1 and 2, yes? Are there any others? No. So we just need to put the 2 in front of one of the b's. We can put 1 in front of the other, but 1b and just b are understood to be the same. Yes? Factors of the third term. Well, factors of 21, we do have 1 and 21, or 3 and 7. Which one do we want to try first? 3 and 7. Two b times 7. 2 times 7 would give us 14b. 3 times b would be positive 3b. 14b plus 3b is 17b. That's correct middle term. So we're done. Questions on this here? Questions on any of these so far? $7x squared minus 45x minus 28. Is there a greatest common factor amongst these three terms? Because 28 divided by 7 is 4. 45 divided by 7 is 4. All right, guys, focus in. Yeah, because 7 and 28 do have a common factor of 7, but unfortunately 45 does not. So can't factor anything out, but we will have 2 sets of parentheses with 3 spaces. Third term sign is what? Negative, so the signs are opposite. So one's going to be positive, one is going to be negative. Now the factors of 7x squared. Well, we know x squared has to be x and x. What are the factors of 7? 1 and 7. Are there any others? No. So we can either put the x or the 7 in front of the first x or second x. Doesn't really matter. We just need to put it in front of one of them. Factors of 28. We have 1 and 28, 2 and 14, 4 and 7, and that's it. Because 3 is not divisible by, or 28 is not divisible by 3, because 2 plus 8 is 10. 10 does not divide by 3, so 28 is not divisible by 3. 5 is not a factor of 28, because 28 does not end 0 or 5. 6 would not be a factor of 28, because 2 and 3 aren't. 7 is a factor. We already have it listed. Which one of these do we want to try first? 4 and 7. Which one do we want to put with the 7x? 4, 7. 7x times negative 7. 7 times negative 7 is going to give us negative 49x. Positive 4 times positive x is going to give positive 4x. Negative 49x plus 4x gives us, not 49x, gives us negative 45x. Because we're really looking at just negative 49 plus 4, which is negative 45. Is that the middle term we wanted? Yes. Questions on this here? You ready for the next one? P squared minus p minus 18. Oh, those two? Yeah. They're not as bad as they might think. So, first place we start with all of them. Greatest common factor. Because we want to see, is there a greatest common factor amongst all three terms? So here, 5p squared p and 18 don't have a greatest common factor. So we'll move on to our two sets of parentheses with 3 spaces. The sign of our third term is negative. So it means our signs are opposite. One's going to be positive, one is going to be negative. Now our factors of 5p squared, well, p squared's factors are p and p. Factors of 5 are 5 and 1. So we need to put 5 and 1 in front of one of the p's, 1 in front of the other. Because those are the only factors of 5. Factors of our third term, we need to find the factors of 18. So we have 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6. Which one do we want to try first? 3 and 6? So if we check this here, p times negative 6 would be negative 6p. 3 times 5p, 3 times 5 would be positive 15p. Negative 6p plus 15p would be not positive 9p. So I'm going to switch to 3 and 6 before we go to 2 and 9. Now p times negative 3 would be negative 3p. 6 times 5p, positive 6 times positive 5p, would be positive 30p. So we have negative 3p plus 30p, giving us 27p. 2 and 9. Where do you want to put the 9? Where do you want to put the 2? So if we try this setup here, p times negative 9 is going to be negative 9p. Positive 2 times 5p is going to be positive 10p. Negative 9p plus 10p. Negative 9 plus 10 is going to be positive 1p. So it is the correct number, but wrong sign. So all we need to do is switch the signs. And if we check this here, p times 9 would give us not positive 9p. Negative 2 times 5p would be negative 10p. 9p minus 10p, 9 minus 10 would give us negative 1, negative 1p. So that is the correct factors. Questions on this here? Are you ready for the next one? All right. Let's look at this one here. 10m squared plus 89m minus 9. All right, guys, focus in, focus in. Is there a greatest common factor amongst these three terms? No. The sign of our third term is negative, so the signs have to be opposite. Now, the factors of 10m squared, our first term, well, we know we'll have to have m and m. Factors of 10, we have 1 and 10 or 2 and 5. Which one do we want to try first? 2 and 5. Now, the factors of the third term, we're looking at the factors of 9. So the factors of 9 are 1 and 9 or 3 and 3. Which one do we want to try first? So we're going to try 3 and 3. Now 2m times negative 3, 2 times negative 3 would give us negative 6m. Positive 3 times positive 5m would be positive 15m. We can. I'm going to try 1 and 9 first, and then we'll switch over to that. Because if we do 9 and 1, 2n times negative 1 would be negative 2m. 9 times 5m would be plus 45m, giving us negative 43m. Or not negative 43, it'd just be positive 43. So that didn't work. Last thing we can try is switching the 9 and 1 before we switch over to 10 and 1. 2m times negative 9 would be negative 18m. 1 times 5m is positive 5m, giving us negative 13m. So at this point here, we've tried every possibility of 2m and 5m with our factors of 9. So now we're going to switch to 1 and 10. So I'm going to put the 10 first. 10 times negative 9. 10m times negative 9 would be negative 90m. 1 times m would be positive m. Negative 90m plus m, negative 90 plus 1 would give us negative 89. It is the correct number, but wrong sign. So all we need to do is switch the signs. Because now we have 10m times positive 9 giving us positive 90m minus m, telling us that the middle term is indeed 89m. Questions on these here? Questions on anything we've done so far? All right, guys, focus in, focus in. Are you ready for the next one? We're going to skip that one. We're going to go to this one. So, all right, guys, let's look at this one here. 28n to the fourth plus 16n cubed minus 80n squared. Now, the first thing we want to see is there a greatest common factor amongst these three terms? So 2 does go into all three, yes. So 2 does. Now we need to see if 4 does also. Because 28 divided by 4 is 7. 16 divided by 4 is 4. 80 divided by 4 is 4 is a greatest common factor for this here. What else is in common with all three? N. Because we do have n in common with all three. So we can factor it out. How many n's are in common with all three? 2. So that means we can factor 4n squared out of all three. Now we factor 4 out of 28. 28 divided by 4 is 7. If we take 2 n's away from n to the fourth, we're left with n squared. Yes? Catch. Plus 16 divided by 4 is going to be 4. If we take 2 n's away from n to the third, we're left with 4n minus 80 divided by 4 is 20. And the n squared factors out completely. So there's no other common factors between 7, 4, and 20. So 2 sets of parentheses with 3 spaces. The sign of the third term is negative. All right, guys, focus in. So the signs are going to be opposite. Factors of the first term. So 7n squared. Well, the factors of n squared, the only option we have is n and n. Factors of 7 are 1 and 7, so we can just plug that in. Factors of the third term. 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. Which one do we want to try first? And 10. So if we try this here, 7 times negative 10 would be negative 70n. 2 times n would be positive 2n. Negative 70n plus 2n, negative 70 plus 2 would give us negative 68. Now we can switch the 2 and 10. Seven times negative 2. 7n times negative 2 would be negative 14n. 10 times n would be positive 10n. Negative 14 plus 10, negative 14n plus 10n would be negative 4n. So correct number, but wrong sign. So we just need to flip the signs. So 7 times positive 2 would give us positive 14n. Negative 10 times n would be negative 10n. 14n minus 10n would give us 4n, positive 4n. Questions on this here? Let's do one more. Do we want to do this one here? Which of the next three do y'all want to do? I'll let y'all pick. So 31. 30n squared b minus 87nb plus 30b. So when we look at this student here, we need to find greatest common factor. We want to look for greatest common factor first. But we'll go into all three for sure. B. So B is going to be a common factor in all three. N is not going to be a common factor because it doesn't show up in all three. But now we need to figure out a number that goes into 30, 87, and 30. What's a number we know for sure will go into all three? 3. Now there might be a number bigger than it, but we can try 3 and go from there. Because if we factor 3b out of 30n squared b, 30 divided by 3 is going to be 10. We'll still have the n squared, but our b divided by b simplifies out, telling us that we have 10n squared. Minus 87 divided by 3 is, well, 87 divided by 3 is 29. Focus in, guys, focus in. 29n. And the b factors out completely. And lastly, 30b divided by 3b. Well, 30 divided by 3 is going to be plus 10. And the b factors out completely. Now we can look and make sure that there is no other greatest common factor because 10, 29, and 10. 10 and 10 have a common factor, have many common factors. But 10 and 29 do not have any common factor, so this is. So 3b was the greatest common factor. So we can move on to our two sets of parentheses with 3 spaces. Now because our third term is positive, it means our signs are the same and they match the sign of the middle term, telling us that we have negative and negative. All right, guys. Now the factors of 10n squared, well, we know it has to be n and n. Factors of 10. 1 and 10, 2 and 5. Which one do we want to try first? Doesn't matter. 2 and 5. Now we need to find the factors of the third term. So our third term is also 10. So we have 1 and 10 or 2 and 5. Which one do we want to try first? 1 and 10. 2n times negative 10, 2 times negative 10 would be negative 20n. Negative 1 times 5n would be negative 5n. Negative 20n minus 5n would be negative 25n. Is that the middle term we wanted? Now we can switch to 1 and 10 and try again. 2n times negative 1 would be negative 2n. Negative 10 times 5n, negative 10 times 5 would be negative 50n. Negative 2n minus 50n would be negative 52n. Before we switch to 2 and 5, looking at this first set of parentheses, 2n minus 10, is there a common factor between 2n and 10? Common factor of 2. So if there's a greatest common factor here, we could actually factor it out. But was there a common factor of 2 between 10, 29, and 10? No, so could there have been a factor of 2 here? No, so it's just telling us that this doesn't work. If we backed up here, with the first setup we had 5n and 10 have a greatest common factor of 5. Well, there can't be 1 because there wasn't 1 to begin with. So we can switch the third term's factors to 2 and 5. 2n times negative 2, 2 times negative 2 would give us negative 4n. Negative 5 times 5n, negative 5 times 5 would be negative 25n. Negative 4 minus 25 would give us negative 29n, which is the middle term we wanted, telling us these are the correct factors. And that's it. Yes. Mm-hmm. 210.